There we go.
Yeah,
now you got some audio, guys. Sorry about that. Hey, it's all work in progress. We got to test everything live. So now we have audio. There we go. Andy Hooser, the voice of reason. Welcome in. Do we want to do this whole thing over again? I was talking about being in my car today for those of you watching. And I had the top
I hear
down.
an echo of you now, so I don't know.
Well, that's your fault. Mute a mic or something, brother. Yeah, we'll get it figured out. Just mute something. You got an audio stream open there somewhere. But anyway, we'll figure it out. Are you good with it, Andy? You're good?
I could make it work. Yeah, I'm hearing an echo from you and a reverb from me, but it's okay.
Oh, man, he's got a mixed minus issue. But that's okay. We'll have fun. Andy's a professional. He can power down. There's a mic open somewhere, but we'll get that fixed for you guys.
Wait till break.
Yeah, during the break. That's okay. Andy, you can suffer through that on the break. Nonetheless, because what a way to start on Monday.
It's just we're adding this whole new layer to everything, and it's just causing a lot of chaos that I'm almost like, guys, what are we doing here?
Too much fun. Anyway, the Hamani case was heard today, and I missed the oral arguments today on that Hamani case, but we're going to cut through some of the I guess the gobbledygook, and we're going to go over to Cam Edwards' piece at Bearing Arms, who wrote, as he always does, a great analysis of it. Andy, you're familiar with the Hamani case? That's the weed case, brother, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's been an interesting. I'm glad the Supreme Court's actually hearing this case. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of decision they're going to make on this one.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to go, but I'm going to trust Cam on this. Here's what he's titled his piece at Bearing Arms, and I'm going to listen to arguments. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't hear it because we're going to talk about it, and then I'll go through and watch it and see if I believe our assessment is correct. Tea leaves from SCOTUS arguments in guns and drugs case. This is from our good friend Cam Edwards over at bearingarms.com. After listening to the full 2 hours of oral arguments in U.S. v. Hamani on Monday morning, I'm willing to make a couple of predictions. Again, this is from Cam, not from me. First, a majority of the justices will find in favor of defendant Ali Daniel Hamani. Andy, are you surprised by that?
No, I'm not. Absolutely.
Is there any particular reason? Let's go here a little bit, because the weed issue has been something we've talked about for a long time. A lot of states have decriminalized marijuana. The federal government has not. Now, I have my theories about that, and it would seem to make sense. I think I'm right about my theory on that. We'll get into that in a second. But how would you expect liberal justices, when it comes to weed, considering liberal states like Oregon have decriminalized heroin, for crying out loud?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, Democrats have been, in my opinion, this may be controversial for your listeners and mine. They kind of already know the stance I have on this, and a lot of people don't like it. But look, the Democrats have been more open about the marijuana thing than Republicans have. And I think if anybody's going to make a decision on allowing people to carry a firearm and be able to possess or purchase marijuana at the same time, it's going to be Democrats over Republicans, because Republicans still have gotten on the board in the idea yet that it lets you do your thing, man, that stop the government regulation, stop the government oversight, and let you just be you and do your thing. And I told you this off the air as well. I hosted and moderated the governor's debate here in Kansas for our 10 different governor's candidates for the state. All 10 Republicans, all of them across the board, all say that they do not want to touch marijuana in a recreational or a medicinal purpose at all. And right now we're one or two states across the nation that actually has not addressed it in any fashion at all. Then attached to it at the same time being able to purchase and own a firearm with the marijuana thing. And they're not going to go anywhere near it. So look, I believe the government should not be regulating marijuana, at least to the degree it is right now. I thank Donald Trump and the Trump administration for lowering it from a class 1 to a class 3 narcotic for the medical research and for allowing people to do a bit more with it. I think we need more of that. And, this is the next step when it comes to firearm possession at the same time.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. It really is, because there are so many, use Greg's comment, there's a lot of layers to this. And Hamani gets in the weeds, pun intended, a little bit, because we're talking, and it's about habitual use, Andy, habitual use.
Right.
All right. So,
but how do you know how much use there is? I mean, if you have, let's say,
you don't.
you go down to like Arizona, which is where a lot of these conversations first started, where they were one of the first ones to really have this conversation about a green card, in a green card in the sense that you can purchase marijuana because you have that medicinal card and purchase a firearm at the same time. I mean, you and I have talked about this for years, and it hasn't addressed itself even with more states that have gotten on board with the marijuana issues. So you can't put these artificial arbitrary lines on of, well, if you grow a certain amount of plants or if you use a certain amount of the product, then you can. If you go over that threshold, then you can't own a firearm. Like, you can't do that. How are you going to regulate something like that? Either you're allowed to or you're not allowed to. What's the government going to tell you what you can and cannot do?
Well, it's very subjective, right? What's habitual use?
Yeah.
How do you define habitual use?
Right.
Every day?
You can't.
Multiple times a day? Once a
can't.
week? Is that habitual? If you habitually use it once a week, 52 weeks a year, is that an habitual user? It's an arbitrary,
look, it's just like
thing.
alcohol. It is. It's like everything else, like alcohol, where your body metabolizes things differently and at different amounts. For someone, they can go through a very large quantity of adult beverage and they feel fine. I haven't drank in a really long time. I have a glass of whiskey on a weekend, and I feel really good, and I feel buzzed, and and I feel it. So there's so many variants here. Your body weight and how your body metabolizes it, and what you do. How does that considered habitual or non-habitual? You can't put these arbitrary lines on it and then try to draw this line and be like, this is the line for everybody on what's okay and not acceptable.
Yeah, and unfortunately, habitual use can make you a federal felon, depending on how you answer the 4473. You're either going to answer it honestly and claim you're a user or a habitual user of the drug, or you're not, which is a federal perjury charge. If you answer in the affirmative honestly, your gun rights are denied. You're not going to get that gun that day. If you answer negative, no, I don't, and you do, now you're committing a federal perjury that can put you in the slammer for a number of years. Meanwhile, the feds sit on top of this and keep marijuana illegal at the federal level. And we come back, we'll talk a little bit about why I think that is, and then we'll go deeper into Hamani using Cam Edwards' expert analysis on this. And we'll be back with Andy Hooser right after this. Don't go away. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show, guys. And that is, in fact, a really simple way to defend freedom, and that's join the National Rifle Association. If you're not a member, ask yourself why. We need you in our camp. You need to get in the pool with us. The water is warm. It's the only way we can combat those snakes, otherwise known as Democrats, because they are working feverishly behind the scenes. There's a bill up in Congress right now, believe it or not, another ammo bill from the Democrats, not going to go anywhere. But, guys, they just never stop, okay? And the National Rifle Association is at the tip of the spear. We make it easy for you. NRA.org/AAR, NRA.org/AAR. And you can find them and all of our other great partners, including CZ and Patriot Mobile. We're in the CZ studios on the Patriot Mobile microphone. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Andy Hooser, the voice of Liaison, welcome back. I believe we got your audio issues fixed, huh?
Yeah, we got that all fixed. Everything's all good now. That was interesting. I love. It's always hard for those that don't know in radio. If you hear the feedback and you hear your own voice like a half a second after you talk, it makes it difficult. But hey, we are radio professionals here allegedly, and we're back at it.
It's the worst, especially when you're getting slapped with that 8-second delay slap back, and everything comes at you in 8 seconds. You think you're doing just fine, and all of a sudden, everything you just said is hitting you. Yep.
Andy, I got to hand it to you. I saw you adjusting your headphones, and I got to hand it to you. That loop back is the human brain cannot comprehend it. You usually wind up talking slowly when that happens, and it happened to me one time.
It throws you off,
and it is really, really difficult to power through. And I was mentioning to Greg, many of you may have seen this on television, listeners, but a number of years ago, Alan Gottlieb was on Hannity for a 10-minute segment with a commercial break. And there was a mix-minus issue, and he was getting a loop back in his earpiece, and he powered through on camera that 10-minute. I don't know of any other human being on earth other than Alan Gottlieb that could have powered through that, and he never once skipped a beat. So it was remarkable. So thanks for that, Andy. That is the radio professional in you. Let's go back to Hamani. Let me give you an idea as to why I think this is happening at the federal level. If they were to correct this, it would be a moot point and it wouldn't be an issue. But when you have a Democrat administration, Andy, it's very easy to understand why the feds will not move on legalization of marijuana, even though you know they want to. It's part of their plan. They're soft on that. But why don't they? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the 4473 makes it very clear that you can't own a gun if you admit to smoking weed. So the Democrats have a natural built-in way to keep millions of Americans from becoming gun owners, at least law-abiding Americans. Criminals do what they want.
Oh, that qualifier again.
Well, it is the qualifier, but that's the comparison. I knew you were going to say that from the conversation last night, Greg. But, yeah, and that's why I want to quantify that, because when we're making that comparison, they know that the person who abides by the law is going to abide by the law, Andy. And fears the judicial system. Nobody wants to get caught up in the judicial system. I mean, it would destroy your life. Some people don't care. They're in and out of prison. 3 meals in a cot, man, free health care. They don't care. You and I do. It would destroy our lives, and most Americans feel that way. So that's just a natural built-in wall to keep millions more Americans from owning guns. Andy, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and they've taken full advantage of that. Never let a crisis go to waste, right? So they've tried to play nice. And you got to remember, I mean, Democrats are also these elites in government to where they promise a whole lot and they don't act upon a lot. So even though they've called even trying to legalize marijuana, they've done it in some places, but other states they don't, just because they're politicians and they don't really fulfill their agenda. But you're right, they've definitely taken advantage of the situation of being able to try and ram through one to get rid of the other. And they've been hoping that people will make the choice on, do I purchase a firearm, which is really bad, evil, and potentially harmful to somebody else, or do I go with the marijuana and get rid of the gun, and that way I can just stay completely relaxed at home eating Cheetos and not do anything else in my life? So, I mean, they've tried to play this narrative, and they've leaned in on the reefer thing, even though they say that the whole reefer madness is outdated and we need to stop stigmatizing marijuana. Like, they're right in that rhetoric, but they don't play that way because they use that rhetoric at the same time while they say, well, now you can't carry a firearm. So we got you. You made your own personal choice to not carry a firearm any longer. If the Supreme Court rules against this and says, no, Donald Trump now has declassified or lowered the classification of marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. It's not as severe as what we've said before. We're doing medical research on this stuff. It's more of a mainstream thing. Now we can start looking at, hey, this is not as bad as we've stigmatized it to be throughout these decades and generations. We need to do something different, and we need to get rid of this choose one right or the other, because I think it's time for that in society.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is time for that. But again, there's that built-in wall that that we pointed out to just a few moments ago. The Democrats care more about hating your guns and keeping you disarmed than they do about their own policy or the way they would want to govern when it comes to marijuana. Right. So it's just that right there, Andy, it's just more proof positive that the federal government wants you disarmed. The Democrats want you disarmed. But let's flip the script here and let's be fair. It is the Trump administration arguing the other way.
You mean
it's the it is the Trump administration right now that is trying to uphold the now here there's a question. Clarence Thomas was the first justice to grill the DOJ's Deputy Solicitor General Sarah Harris. This is coming again from Cam Edwards. And took aim at the government's contention that 18th century laws dealing with habitual drunkards and vagrants provide an appropriate analog. Now, keep in mind, guys, that what we're talking about here is the Bruin analog. Okay? That is now precedent since 19. Oh, what decade am I in? What century am I in? But since 2022. All right, so we're 4 years into this Bruin decision right now. And that is Supreme Court precedent that says it's got to be a clear historical analog at the time of the founding. All right, so the question becomes, and let's see if I can find who asked the question. It was, I believe it was Gorsuch, who asked, does this that's not it. Does this defendant qualify as a habitual user? And went on to say, would the founding fathers have been deemed to be habitual drunkards? Every single one of them distilled their own booze.
Well, and they were also, I was going to say, they were also cannabis users and the growers of hemp. So
yeah,
exactly.
This is all, this is all being overlooked. And what we currently have is a contingency of Republicans in Congress that don't understand that, A, the market already exists. It's never going away. It hasn't gone away, especially in this state of Texas, where it's been illegal for since 1937. That's the populace chooses it regardless of it being on the black market or not. So why not just make it legal? And people have been screaming for a few decades now in this state that they're tired of potentially losing their life and their livelihood over just simply a substance that is not as harmful even as alcohol is.
That grows.
Yeah, I would say it's natural. Exactly. I will say that Republicans have been wrong, in my opinion, on this issue for a long time. Like you said, the Trump administration's fighting to uphold this kind of stuff, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to be habitual. That is very arbitrary, and again, trying to compare it to back at the founding's time, that's very difficult to compare what was habitual then to what's habitual now, because heck, they had most of their meetings in pubs. That's where the dealings
taverns,
were done for government.
That's where all the town work was done in taverns.
That's exactly it. So what was habitual then compared to now?
Well, yeah, and I guess we'll pull the old Bill Clinton, right? It depends on the meaning. What is, right? It depends on how you define what is. All right, what's habitual? When we come back, we'll talk about some of the breakdown here on the court, what we think might happen. It is interesting. We'll be back right after this with Andy Hooser, the voice of reason. Don't go away.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, welcome back to the show. I'm holding up a Patriot Mobile phone. It's activated. Patriot Mobile, patriotmobile.com/AAR. Andy Hooser, the voice of reason. You know a little bit about Patriot Mobile. Do you have a Patriot Mobile phone you can hold up for us?
Yeah, I got mine. Here we go, right there. Rock and roll, baby.
There's two Patriot Mobile activated phones, ladies and gentlemen. You can do the same thing. I don't like to mention the competitors that don't support the Second Amendment. That, of course, would be Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. But I did mention it because I do like to mention it, quite frankly, because they don't support your right to bear arms. Patriot Mobile does, and Patriot Mobile also uses all of those towers. So you're guaranteed great service no matter where you are. You can add specific lines. They've got the hot boxes. There's all kinds of cool stuff going on at patriotmobile.com. Please visit them at patriotmobile.com/AAR. Andy, give your promo code out as well.
Yeah, Reason, REASON. You can find that at patriotmobile.com/reason and get the same discounts, same deals, and everything as well. Love working with those guys for sure.
Yeah, it's an awful lot of fun. All right, so what I'm about to get in here now, I predict Greg is going to want to jump in on this. This is a fascinating part of this conversation regarding the Himani case that was heard today. Oral arguments. We'll have a decision at some point late summer, no doubt. But I'll go back to Clarence Thomas was the first justice to grill the DOJ's Deputy Solicitor General Sarah Harris and took aim at the government's contention that 18th century laws dealing with habitual drunkards and vagrants provide an appropriate analog. Sonia Sotomayor, on the other hand, Andy, grilled Harris about the broad nature of 922G3, which is the code, noting that different drugs have different effects and wondering why someone who uses marijuana once a week outside the presence of a firearm should be considered dangerous. Yeah, now you're laughing. Hold on. Well, I'm gonna keep going here because I'm with you on this. This case is fascinating. And let's be very clear here. Himani is not a nice guy, ladies and gentlemen, okay? He's not the ideal plaintiff, but this is the case that we have. Now, Harris's response, the Solicitor General, on behalf of the government, is that there was no individualized finding of dangerousness for habitual drunkards, quote unquote. Now, Cam throws a caveat in, which I think defendant's attorney Aaron Murphy would disagree with, and he's right about that. But also noted that according to the government, the prohibition is, quote unquote, tailored and temporary to those who are currently habitually using drugs. Neil Gorsuch then wondered, does this defendant qualify as a habitual user? Gorsuch pointed out that at the time of the founding, one temperance society said that 8 shots a day of whiskey only made you a moderate drinker, and to be a habitual user required twice as much. Now, all right, let me continue before we get into this because I know where you're going with this, all right? Gorsuch noted that Himani admitted to using marijuana about every other day, but we don't know the quantity, and wondered what would the government's position be if he took one gummy bear with a prescription in Colorado to help him sleep. Disarm him for life? Now, this is fascinating stuff for a lot of different reasons because there's a lot of different holes we could go down here. But let's go to the temperance society that said 8 shots a day of whiskey only made you a moderate drinker, and to be a habitual user required twice as much. Andy, I don't know about you. I mean, I'm no rookie, and I like my bourbon. I'm going to have a Buffalo Trace after the show today, but that's it. If I had 16-ounce shots, well, I don't know that I'd be on the air tomorrow.
Yeah, look, the last time I took,
let alone building a nation.
Yeah, no doubt. Exactly. If you're building a nation, man, if you're taking 8 shots of whiskey, the last time I took 8 shots of whiskey, my shoes ended up on the roof of the house because, that was just the kind of night that it was. So,
and you woke up and curled up in a fetal position by the toilet, and your mom and dad going, you learned your lesson. You just learned your lesson. Yeah, that's hardcore, man.
Yeah, but again, that shows, look, this is the beautiful conversation about the evolution of the Constitution, because they always say it's a living document where it can just be changed on a dime. It's not. It's an amendable document where we can update some things at the time, and you cannot, unlike what Democrats try to do. And this is so interesting for them because for the longest time on social issues, particularly, and for the powers and the 3 branches of government, they've always said that, well, when we judge Confederate flags, or we judge the monuments and the statues, and that the morals that we held then need to be the morals that we hold today. And that's why we need to erase history and get rid of some of these individuals, is because they tried to hold the same standard here and then. But then on this case, they're right on this case when they say, wait a second, how is it that drinking 8 shots of whiskey then was a moderate drinker, but eating a gummy bear to go to sleep at night is going to somehow be comparable in that same sense? Like, they're right on this when they've been wrong on all of these issues for so long. And unfortunately, Republicans and the conservatives and the Trump admin right now trying to hold up these arguments are the ones to the wrong here, saying that, look, we can't hold the same moral standard or the same societal standards from 1776 to right now, or the early 1800s to now, when it comes to especially something like consumption. First off, most of the time when they drank wine, their wine was very weak. Most people drank it on a regular basis because it was more cleaner than the dirty water they were trying to consume, because they had to distill it and go through all this process. So their wine was maybe like 2% alcohol. Now we have 15% wine, and that's just the normal standard before you go up beyond that, unless you're drinking like boxed wine. The whiskey, I'm sure, is the same kind of thing. It's silly to do these comparisons. And if that's the argument they're going to make, my prediction is the Supreme Court's going to say, wait a second, yeah, we can't compare these two, and we're going to start moving towards the idea of actually getting rid of this mandate.
I think you're right about this. And reading through Cam's analysis, I'm going to agree with him on this. Now, let me dig a little further. Attorney Aaron Murphy, representing the plaintiff in the case Hamani, argued that the habitual drunkard statutes aren't appropriate, though, because unlike 922G, the code, they didn't punish people just for their habitual drinking. Hear that. They didn't punish people just for their habitual drinking. You see how this case is going back. Bruin precedent is being respected on both sides in this argument, because it has to be. It was the nature of what intoxication did to them that triggered the laws. The government contends, though, that habitual use alone is enough to disarm marijuana users. And, now here we get into some of those weeds, again, pun intended. While the DOJ is relying on those drunkard statutes, the government also maintains that there's a big difference between alcohol and drug use. Why, Andy? Let me put it this way. Alcohol kills far more people in this country than weed does, as far as we know. Yeah. For health reasons, the ramifications of drinking and driving, fights, whatever the case may be. All right, there's a lot of spider webs there. But why? Because the bottom line is alcohol is legal. I mean, that's the only...
Yeah, well, exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I mean, look, this, this is a great example of what we used to do back then, because like Greg mentioned before, we had marijuana that was grown naturally. We had the hemp industry that was grown naturally. We had the stuff that's being grown, and then we tried to stigmatize it, a few decades ago. So yeah, it's the conversation then is a completely different conversation from what we should be having right now.
Well, we're going to have an interesting ruling come down on this. I'm not going to be shocked to see at least 2 of the liberal justices rule in favor of Hamani and weigh the weed issue more than the quote-unquote dangerous or firearm issue. Now, I could be way off base on that. But it was interesting, as Cam points out, that it appeared to be, a majority of the justices, quoting him, appear to disagree with that position, and that position being the government's position, admitting marijuana about every other day, et cetera. So we'll go to the break with this when we come back. A majority of the justices appear to disagree with the position, though. The fracture doesn't fall along the usual conservative/liberal lines. Instead, Alito and Chief Justice John Roberts appeared to be the most receptive to the DOJ's arguments, with Clarence Thomas a bit of a cipher, and the rest of the justices expressing skepticism about the government's position to one degree or another. Andy, you could have a 7-2 decision here. This would be extremely. This is an interesting case all the way around, and this one's very, very hard to predict. But we're going to try when we come back. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense continues with the great Andy Hooser. He's a Talker's Heavy 100. He's the real deal. KQAM, Wichita's big talker, Wichita's favorite son. We'll be right back with Andy. One more segment to go.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Every day I hold this card up for you, ladies and gentlemen, every single day, and I'm going to continue to do so. This is my Attorneys on Retainer card, and it means that I have an attorney on retainer, not just one, plural. Up to 4, if God forbid, I need to defend myself with a firearm and I find myself in trouble with the law. I have 4 attorneys that will be with me by my side in court fighting to keep me free. And in most cases, you won't even have to go to trial. You are not entitled to an attorney during an investigation, which there will be if you have to use a firearm. And if you carry a firearm, you need to carry this in your wallet as well. Armed American Radio has a great code for you. It's AAR, and it is attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. It is $37 a month for peace of mind. Is it worth it? You better believe it is. I have it. My wife has it. My kids have it. You need it as well. Attorneysonretainer.us. Make sure to visit them and all of our great partners, including Pot of Gold Auctions. That's POGauctions.com. Looking for some silver, some gold, some art, some jewelry? Or when we get ready for the auctions for the Walk the Talk America suicide prevention, we're going to let you know about that. It's POGauctions.com. Support them. They support your gun rights. Pretty much that simple. POGauctions.com. And don't forget, you can visit ccrkba.org/AAR and put your name in the running with a small donation. You don't have to donate. There's a way to do that. You can scroll down the bottom. But you can enter to win that rifle package, that Ruger Precision Rifle package, valued at about $2,200 to $2,500. One of you, an Armed American Radio listener, will win that when the committee makes that announcement in April, and we will be announcing it here on Armed American Radio. So take advantage of that. Sign up. If you can donate the $17.76 or more, that would be great. We would appreciate it because we need your help. Visit them and all of our great partners, including budsgunshop.com, at armedamericanradio.com. Let's go back to Andy Hooser, the voice of Liaison. Andy Hooser, welcome back, brother.
I'm excited, man. With your video stuff now, I can make faces and do stuff while we're doing this thing. It's
Yeah.
I've wanted to do that for a long time, anyways.
I can see you making faces during the breaks as well, you know. And at some point in time, now that we know we have everything going, we'll stay up on during the breaks and have some fun and converse back and forth when we are not FCC controlled on the internet. Once we're taken down.
Oh, that's going to get us in trouble there.
No, we can say whatever we want on the internet. I go back to this, Hamani. I do want to ask you about Iran, just because I know you're going to be talking about that later on your show, and I want to get your take on that for sure. But, you know, Justice Ketanji Brown, we didn't mention much of her. Here's what Cam has to say. Surprisingly, you know, the DEI hire seemed to have a number of problems with Section 922G, at least when it comes to using the Bruin test to determine its constitutionality. But Jackson also admitted that her underlying problem comes from the Bruin test itself. And Second Amendment Foundation responded in a tweet. Jackson, as they were doing this live streaming at the time, Jackson back to bashing Bruin and saying she wants to return to interest balancing. I could see her ruling for Hamani as a way to bash Bruin, actually. So, yeah, because we have so many differing opinions here, and because one is a pet cause, drug, and, you know, there's a lot of libertarian issues regarding that. I agree with you. I think marijuana should be legalized at this point. It's just a done deal. The government's spinning their wheels. But I see why they're not. And again, one of the operative words here is dangerous. Is dangerous. Are you dangerous because you're high and you're near a firearm? Or if you weren't high but you're near a firearm and you only use it once a week, does it matter while you're high you're dangerous but you're not? This is a mess of a case. I can't wait to see the ruling.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the ruling either. And look, the only argument that I can see against this is if they talk about the habitualness and the strength of things, and, you know, the 8 shots back then compared to the 16 shots where you're actually considered habitual, you got to do 16 shots a day sort of thing. I mean, you can make the argument today that there are some products out there that are not the natural, like actual plant that you grow in your backyard, but the concentrated forms in vapes and some of these concentrated liquids or whatever, where it's 90% THC, 100% THC. And, you know, we have things where we could make the argument that many communities in, you know, Colorado and Denver, in San Francisco and LA, where you have severe mental health issues because people have fried their brain by doing way too much and they're out of their mind. You can make the argument there, but at the same time, if we, again, just like prohibition happened with the early 1900s with alcohol, if you bring it out front and you regulate it, you're not going to have this stuff that's behind the scenes in the shadows in the black market. That's 100% THC that you're ordering off of a dealer on Snapchat, which is a big thing, by the way, and getting it from, that's being shipped in from Mexico or shipped in from China or shipped in somewhere else, that it's actually grown, produced, distributed, and retail purchased right here in the US of A, where we know exactly what it is. If we do this stuff, then we're not going to have these problems.
I didn't know that was an issue on Snapchat. Enlighten me real
Snapchat,
quick.
apparently Snapchat is, I don't do Snapchat. That's the one social media app I don't have. Apparently that is good for two things. Apparently for naughty pictures between people and drug deals. Apparently those are the two biggest things that they use Snapchat for.
Yeah, because the chats don't remain. They disappear.
I'm sure there's no way the NSA has a reason to keep them. Sure,
Yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
they haven't yet figured that one out, right? You just keep thinking they disappear, Snapchat users.
I'm sure there's a cache somewhere that you could go back and see the history, but there's
sure.
also the possibility that maybe Snapchat has engineered their app to where it does disappear and dissolves into the ether.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
Maybe. Maybe. But there's a part of me that hopes the government does have technology like that because it makes us safer. I'm not specifically related to Snapchat, but superior technology always helps. Speaking of superior,
superior technology is really good. I will advocate for, though right now they are talking about the extension of the FISA laws.
Yeah.
And in my humble opinion, again, get rid of the FISA court, completely abolish that stuff. We don't need the government collecting metadata on every single person with our emails, our cell phones, our text messages, our phone conversations, our web browsing searches.
That ship has
we can
sailed.
get rid of all that crap. That's right. That ship has sailed. It is not 2001. We're eliminating right now one of the last terror-grown nations on the face of the earth right now. We don't need that type of surveillance any longer.
Andy, what does it say to you when the Democrat Party, who is the party of gun control, who wants you disarmed? And I found this fascinating because I believe I saw it on Fox News. Somebody talking about how this is a great opportunity for the Iranian people. Trump is setting up the Iranian people to take their country back. However, they're disarmed. They do not have guns. So the conversation hinged on how are they going to fight back? Well, enough of them when the regime is taken down, they're going to have to fight to get those guns. We have guns. They don't.
Right.
So it adds another, they use that word Greg used earlier in the show, it adds another layer there. It does. But when you see the Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries out with boneheaded comments,
30.
seemingly with 30 seconds to go, Andy, siding with the Iranian regime and against our own government for taking them down. Take us to the break.
Yeah. How wild is that you have the left-wing feminists that want to be able to go out there and have this sexual revolution and do whatever they want to and have as many abortions as possible are out there advocating for an Islamist radical regime that forces women to be covered, that says that you can be beaten as long as you don't draw blood or that you don't kill them. Other than that, you can beat them as much as they want, take away their rights. They can't read, they can't own property, they can't be in business, they can't do anything. Like, that's the side advocating for this stuff? Come on, man. I'm excited. This is going to be a revolutionary thing for Trump to try and actually create this in the nation. And the Persian people, the Arabian, not Muslim, but the Persian Arabian population is going to take this nation back, and it's going to be amazing.
It is. Cuba's next, by the way. So pay attention.
Yep.
The remnants of Castro. Cuba's next. Trump's not going to put up with any communism in our hemisphere. Andy, where can people watch and listen to you coming up in the next few minutes?
You bet. Who's Your Reason on the website and on my social media at Who's Your Reason. Always love it, Mark. We'll see you Monday.
It's always fun. We absolutely will see you on Monday. Andy Hooser, the voice of reason. Guys, we're going to get up and do it again tomorrow because they don't want us to. Hope you enjoyed the show today as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Stay safe today. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Take care, Andy.
Just filled your prescription for freedom on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters, the loudest voice in America fighting for gun rights.
All right, Andy. I don't know if you can hear me. You got him out?
No, I don't.
Okay, he's gonzo. He's done.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
he's got to go do his own thing.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Appreciate it. A work in progress. We appreciate you hanging with us as we continue to grow the live stream. Like us, support us, please. Help us take our social media back. Join us over on YouTube in particular. YouTube is very important for us. If you could help us do that, we continue to grow there. So help make that happen. If you don't subscribe to us on YouTube, please do. Ring the bell. We've got shorts going up for you every day and the live streams, etc. So make sure to check us out there on YouTube. Thanks for being here today, guys. Mondays are long days. We're going to call it quits, but we are going to get up and do it again tomorrow, precisely because they don't want us to do it again tomorrow. So enjoy your day. Stay safe. See you on the radio tomorrow. Same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Stay safe, guys. Enjoy your day.